Peace be upon you, dear friends and valued companions. Today, we bring you a shocking and horrifying story, one that not only breaks hearts, but also challenges the conscience of humanity. This tale, which took place at the end of 2024, is considered one of the most heinous and brutal crimes in modern history. A crime that crossed all boundaries of humanity and mercy, revealing how greed and betrayal can destroy even the closest relationships. In this story, we encounter characters who seemingly led ordinary, peaceful lives, but beneath that calm exterior lay a darkness no one could have foreseen. This tragedy not only shattered a family, but also left society in a state of shock and disbelief. Join us as we uncover the hidden layers of this human tragedy and see how an old friendship turned into a bloody catastrophe. A story that will never be forgotten. The story of a man who lives in Sadr City, which is east of Baghdad, the Iraqi capital. This man works as a soldier in the army, is a man of reputation very kind, lives in a sector in a city called Sector 74, married, and has 6 children, 5 girls, and a boy. The youngest girl's name is Lajane and the older one is Rasul, who is 5 years old. The older one is Nargis, who is 6 years old. The older one is Zainab, who is 10 years old. And the older one is Isra, the eldest. She is 11 years old and has one boy named Karar, who is 8 years old. Karar means 5 girls and a boy. His wife is pregnant and he was very happy when they did an ultrasound because his wife was about to give birth. And the ultrasound showed them that there was a very high probability that what was in his wife's belly was a boy. This man, who is 8 years old, thought about it. Years ago, he was happy and joyful that he would have a brother, a boy, because all the brothers, meaning they were all girls, wanted a boy or to be a brother to him, meaning they were happier about the boy than his mother and father. The family was a happy family and their financial situation was very good and things were good. Let's come to the mother, who is the wife. This man's wife's name is Sarah, who is Isra's mother or Karar. Sagir's mother, Sarah, has an elderly woman neighbor who has a daughter. Her name is Yasmin. Yasmin is Sarah's friend. She is the same age as him. They have been living together for many years. Yasmin got married and lived in the Al-Hamidiyya area. They call it the Al-Hamidiyya agricultural area. She lives with her husband and has 6 children. Yasin, her husband's name, is Hadi. Yasmin knows that Sarah and her husband, who is her friend, are in a very good financial situation. Yasmin was going through. She and her husband Hadi are in financial distress because this is a labor force, meaning that he spends his days sometimes finding work and other times not having a little money, meaning he needs money for expenses and so on. Whenever he needs it, he calls his wife, Yasmin, to borrow from her friend Sarah. Sarah will never turn down Yasmin, her lifelong friend, and she trusts her and lends you money. She has a notebook in which she writes, I lent Yasmin such and such an amount. The such and such amount. And Yasmin's wife tells her that she is the one who will pay this amount and that her husband will pay this amount. She records it in the notebook and trusts. Anyway, months have passed and Yasmin is still in debt. Sarah's husband is now thinking of starting to renovate the house and expand it. His house is big, but it is a bit old and needs renovation. And so on. He has a project that he is building and he has a large sum of money collected for this thing, and he also needs other sums of money. So he spoke to Sarah. Sarah said, by God, I have money, but I am short on money. My friend Yasmin, and she is supposed to return them because she is late. I will speak. So she started speaking to Yasmin. May God keep you, Yasmin. It's okay. I need this amount from you and also from your husband, who is this amount. It was 35 million Iraqi dinars, which is approximately equivalent to about $27. And Yasmin tells her, God willing, next week, postpone the week after, the month after that. It's okay. My circumstances are a bit bad, and she is patient with them and has no problem with them. I mean, a month, 2 months, 3 months. It took a long time, and she became affectionate towards her. Yasmin, may God keep you. I need the money, and you are late for the appointment, and my husband wants something from me, and so on. She said, no, it's okay. I will manage things. So far, the matter is nothing simple. It's very normal. The disaster is, it hasn't arrived yet on 12/30/2024 at the end of the year. Yasmin, who was in debt, called her friend, Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Isra. How are you? I hope you're fine. She said, thank God. She said to her, I have good news for you. Thank God I collected the amount we were asking for. And by the way, you didn't neglect me, to be honest. And you were patient with me. I forced you to have dinner. Come with your children. I have dinner at home and have fun. And take your money. She said to her, may God reward you with good, and so on. She said to her, don't forget your husband's sister, because Sarah's husband's sister lives with her. She is very old. This aunt, they call her Aunt Sadia, and Aunt Sadia is approximately her age. Of course, Sarah was happy and pleased that she would take her money, so she called Aunt Sadia, who is about her age, 65 years old and living with her brother. She is very old and tired, and at that time her leg was broken. She had been wearing an iron cast for many years, and the fracture was compound and old, and it broke again, so now she is bedridden. So Sarah said to her, will you go with me? I will go to my friend. Yasmin invited me to dinner and wants to give me the money I am asking for. She said to him, you know that I am tired and my leg is broken, and so on. She said, no, that's it. So that you do not stay home alone, because I will take the children with me. I will leave the 2 little girls with you. Lujane and Rasul are 3 years old, and Lujane is 5 years old. She left them with their aunt and took with her Narjis, Zainab, Isra, and her little son, Karar, and went to ride what was a tuk-tuk, and took her to Hamad with her friend Yasmin. As for Sadia, while she was at home alone with her daughter Lujane, who is 3 years old, and Rasul, who is 5 years old, she was bedridden, and her mother called her. Sarah, the mother of the children, said, where is Sarah? She said, by God, Sarah took her children and went to her friend Yasmin, who is in Al-Hamidiyah. Of course, Sarah's mother knows who Yasmin is, because they were neighbors before, and Yasmin and her husband Hadi moved to Al-Hamidiyah. They originally lived with them in the same sector, Sector 74. So she said, why are you going to Yasmin? She said, by God, you want to give her money, and she invited me to dinner and left only the 2 little girls with me. She said, no, okay. And focus on this piece of information for me. This is very important information in revealing the whole case, the story of the call between the aunt and Sarah. Anyway, Sarah went and sat with her friend Yasmin to have dinner and take her money, and she returns, but she was late. In the meantime, her husband, Sarah's husband, calls Sarah, but the phone is off. He doesn't know what's going on, and he's preoccupied. because she told her before she left. She told him, "I'm going to my friend's house." He told her, "Go and trust in God." He doesn't know if he's from her friend. He doesn't know, but when he saw, it was late at night. It was July 8th, and he was at work in the army. He called his wife, Sarah, but the phone was off. He got up and called his sister, Aunt Sadia, who was at home. Aunt Sadia also didn't answer the phone. He called his wife, but she didn't answer the phone. He called his sister, but she didn't answer the phone. He was preoccupied. He called one of his brothers. One of his brothers lives in Al-Hamidiyah and works near them. He said to him, "Brother, I called my wife and her phone was off. She told me that she was going to her friend's house with her. I called Sadia," meaning his sister, Sadia, "and she didn't answer the line. I was preoccupied, brother, and I was at work. May God bless you. Since you are close to them, go and find me out what happened." He said, "Okay." His brother left Al-Hamidiyah and went to Sadr City, specifically to Sector 74, the place where his brother lives. He came to the door of his house and found the door ajar, meaning it was open and not locked. He opened the door and entered and saw this terrifying thing. He found his sister, his aunt, Sadia, was murdered on his bed, and next to her were his two daughters, Lajane and Hazu, who were clearly stabbed to death, dead, next to their aunt. The rest of the children were not in the house, nor was his brother's wife. He was shocked and called his brother and said to him, "I swear I don't know what to tell you. I entered your house and didn't find your husband and the children, but I found Sadia murdered in her bed, and your two young daughters, Lajane and Rasul, were murdered, and the rest of the children and your wife were not in the house." This man started screaming and covering up on the phone. "What are you saying? How are you sure?" He said to him, "Brother, I swear I am sure. Come na. I have reached an understanding with my wife. Where are the rest of my children?" "Where?" He said to him, "By God, no. I know." He sat and told him to look for them. Maybe upstairs, maybe someone broke in, and they searched the whole house. The world was turned upside down until that one, of course, he flew out of work and returned home, and indeed his sister Sadia and the two daughters were killed, and the house was empty. His children, the rest of his sons, who are Narjis, Zainab, Isra, and the little boy, who is Kara, are not here. The first thing that came to the man's mind was, what? Since my wife was not here, and the rest of my children were not here, and a murder had taken place, and my two young sons or daughters and their aunt were killed, so he immediately suspected who was with his wife Sarah. He said, "Of course Sarah." And behind the subject of the crime, because it is not there, especially after he discovered that the bedroom was as if someone had messed it up, meaning he had entered it. He saw the closet, the cupboard, and the clothes storage room scattered, and there was money that he had hidden, approximately 4 million Iraqi dinars, in addition to Sarah's gold that was not there. So he said, surely Sarah took it, the money, the gold, and the rest of the children after she committed the crime and fled. What did she do as soon as she called? She called her aunt, Sarah's mother. "My Aunt Sarah, where are you talking to? The mother doesn't know what's going on. What's wrong with you, my dear? What's happening? I want to know now, Sarah and my children. Where are the rest of my children? Where? Why? What's happening?" He said, "My sister was killed and 2 girls. The children were killed, and I suspect your daughter, Sarah. The gold is not there, and the money she hid is not there, and she must have run away with them. Tell me and confess to me, where is your daughter Sarah?" The Mother, of course, started screaming and crying. Where is my daughter? Where is my daughter? It is impossible that my daughter has nothing to do with it. The subject is it does not enter the mind of a mother who killed 2 girls and killed a sister. Her husband and his escape, the rest of her children are a little bit away, meaning this scenario is not acceptable. What did Sarah say to her daughter's husband? She said to him, listen, 4 or 5 hours ago I called Sarah and your sister Sadia answered. He said to him, okay. Sadia said, she told me that Sarah took her children and went to her friend Yasmin's house in Al-Hamidiyah to receive her money. And he had dinner with her and left 2 young girls with your sister Sadia. Sadia herself told me this. I am not telling you why I told you. Focus on the information, because if it weren't for the call that was between Sarah and Aunt Sadia, he wouldn't have known what was going on and where his wife went. This is the call. She is the one who revealed the matter. The husband immediately got up and informed them of the information. They asked him, who is this? She said, this is him. He said, this is Yasmin. They used to live near us, and now they live in Al-Hamidiyah in such and such a place. The security men immediately formed 2 groups, one in the house of the one who a crime was committed, and a team headed to the scene immediately. To Yasmin's house, they are looking for whoever they are looking for. Sarah, since she said that she's going there. They do not know what the story is, but Sarah is definitely explaining to them what happened in her house. The security men arrive as soon as they are shocked, and they are shocked more than the previous shock. She says, Abu Talib, is there something wrong? Bigger than what happened with the 2 girls and their aunt, I tell you. Yes, listen to the story. As soon as the security men arrived at the house of Yasmin, Sarah's friend, who Sarah was supposed to be with the rest of her children, they immediately raided the house. They found in the courtyard of the house the motorcycle, which is the tuk-tuk that they use like a taxi for transportation, and they saw Hadi, Yasmin's husband, carrying bags, you honor them, garbage bags, of course. He was the most despicable when he saw the security men enter his house, and they said to him, what is your name? He said, I am Hadi. The officer said, are you Yasmin's husband? He said, yes. Said, what is this in your hand? He said to him, this is it. Games, blood, clothes, etc. and items. Which one of them said, let's see if we can open the bag or not. Children's bodies may your home be destroyed. They immediately arrested him and a dog that came and was thrown on the ground. They ran into the house. This is not Yasmin, and they were arrested. Where is Sarah? I pointed to the room. Where is Sarah? She told them, in the room. Enter the room. Sarah was killed, and next to her was one of her daughters killed. How was she stabbed? Stabbed in a brutal way. A spear was used in stabbing the mother and her children, to the point that Sarah was pregnant in the last months, and the stab wounds were in the abdomen from the many stab wounds. Her abdomen split open, and the fetus fell, and next to her was the body of her daughter. And when they searched, they found the body of the little boy who was Kara, stabbed dead. Of course, they went back to TikTok inside the tuk-tuk. They had put the rest of the bodies, meaning the killers of Sarah and her 4 children, Nargis, Zainab, Isra, and the 4th, who was the boy Kara, were all killed with a spear, which is the knives that they call a spear, meaning like a war knife, and so on. They arrested this woman and his wife, Yasmin, but there was a 3rd person with them. This person's name is Hassan. As soon as he felt the presence of the security men, he was able to escape from the crime scene. Now they want to know what the scenario is. How did the crime take place in Sarah's house? How did the second crime take place in Yasmin's house? Sarah and her children were with her, and the rest of her children were with her as well. They were killed. How did it happen? I will tell you the story. Poor Sarah was a very kind woman who trusted her friend Yasmin greatly. She would lend her money, and whenever she returned it, she would help her. She said to him, "Come here, I will give you your money and have dinner." She said to him, "Okay." She went to her and left 2 of her daughters with their aunt. As soon as she arrived at the house, Yasmin was lost in the house, meaning she was riding a tuk-tuk, and called her and told her to come to such and such a place. She entered. As soon as she entered, Yasmin greeted her. "Welcome, Sarah. Welcome, your children." And so, they entered, and she took them to the bedroom. The bedroom is the same room they live in. She told her that, "I will bring it soon. How many tea and juices did you have?" She went up to the first floor. Her husband Hadi was hiding with his friend Hassan. Who is this Hassan? This is Hadi's friend, but Hassan is a hired killer and a professional in committing crimes. He is helping her for the crime, she said to her husband and partner. The woman has arrived with her children, but wait a bit. Let me distract them because there are 4 of them. By the way, the children's aunt didn't come and there were 2 children left in the house. They were going to bring them all to get rid of them. But the aunt, because her leg was broken and all, stayed with the 2 little girls. His wife said, "Okay." She brought Yasmin down and took out some money from her and told Sarah's children to go buy sweets from the grocery store. There was a small supermarket next to us, and they went to buy sweets and such. They said okay, but 2 of them agreed and 2 of them did not. They sat with their mother. Of those who went, the eldest, Isra, who was 11 years old, and the little boy, Karar, who was 8 years old, went to buy sweets, chips, Pepsi, and such things. Then they both sat down with their mother. As soon as they went out, she signaled to her husband and his partner to come down and enter the bedroom. They suddenly attacked Sarah. They attacked Sarah in front of her children. Who attacked her? This was her friend Yasmin's husband. As soon as he attacked her, she started screaming and got scared, so he put his hand over her mouth and with his other hand, he held a knife and started stabbing her. In the abdomen he stabbed. The last stab. He stuck the spear completely in her abdomen and pulled her aside, and this was the rhyme. Her daughters were screaming. Hassan attacked them. He stabbed the first one and killed her. He silenced the second one and stabbed her and killed her. The children finished them off. A little while later, the little boy Karar and his sister Isra were going to the supermarket. Who welcomed them? This devilish Yasmin handed them over to Al Hassan. As soon as Hassan grabbed them, he grabbed Isra because she was the eldest. He repeated because he was young. He said, "Let him be the last one." He grabbed Isra and wanted to stab her in front of her brother, Karar, who, when he saw the scene, ran out of fear. He entered the bedroom and hid under the bed. Hassan ran after him, looking for him. He saw him under the bed, but he couldn't get him out. The boy was scared and screaming. "Who is this? Who is this?" He said, "Lift the bed for me." He lifted the bed, reached out, grabbed the boy by the foot and pulled him outside. He started stabbing him until he finished him off, but to make sure they were dead. One by one, the children and the mother began to be deprived. Of course, the criminal Hassan was exhausted from committing the crime and said, "I am tired. Yasmin, bring us something to eat. He wants to eat the vile one." She went and brought him rice, sauce, and broth, and I don't know what else. He was full and relaxed a little. He said, "Now let's carry out the second part of the plan. We prepare for the children's uncle and the two girls who are there, and we take the receipts of trust that Sarah wrote to the blogger about Yasmin and her husband. This is the main goal of the crime." Yasmin actually left with Hassan, the criminal killer who was the hired gun, and she left her husband with the bodies to arrange things. Anyway, they left by the same tuk-tuk to Sadr City, Sector 74, to the house of a prostitute because they know that there is money in the house and debt papers, and they know that there is no one in the house except this old woman who is tired and with her two young daughters, meaning there is no danger, and they know that the husband is a military officer in the army and that he is now receiving in his work. Yasmin had planned well. She went with the criminal to facilitate his entry into Sarah's house. She opened the door and started looking around. There was no one there. She was quiet and opened the door to the room where Aunt Sadia was sleeping. She found her sleeping on the bed and the two girls sleeping next to her. She went and entered. Hassan, of course, was carrying a gun with him. He was carrying with him the spear, the knife used in the crime, a large knife. The gun. As soon as he entered, he had the gun with him. He put it to Aunt Sadia's head. He wanted to shoot her in the head, but the gun did not work. He took out the spear and stabbed her while she was sleeping. He stabbed her, stabbed her, stabbed her, until he finished off the two girls. They saw him attack the two girls and cut them in pieces with a spear. He finished them off. When he finished, he called Yasmin and said to God, "Where is the place where the receipts and money are?" She told him, "This is the place." That means she knows the house well, from how much she used to visit her friend Sarah, and she trusted her. He took her into the bedroom and taught her everything in her life. They entered the victim's room, Sarah, and they took out the receipts and stole the money and the rest of her gold and so on, and they finished things and left the house. Where did they go? They returned again to Al-Hamidiyah. There is the second crime scene there, to get rid of the bodies. Anyway, they entered this one. There is a group there, and he is preparing the bodies, wrapping them in tassels. He puts the children. There is no power or strength, except with God. The important thing is that they were telling him to bring us a big car. This tuk-tuk won't be able to carry all these bodies. He said, "No, I can't bring a car from someone, and they will discover it. Let us finish in the meantime while they carry the bodies." He meant that they were supposed to take them to a faraway area. This area is called Al-Bazil. This is an area, large agricultural, on the outskirts of Baghdad. They wanted to throw the bodies there so that no one would discover the matter. But unfortunately, the security men entered on them while they were loading the bodies. Hassan sensed the entry of the security men and was able to escape. They arrested Hadi and his wife Yasmin. They are looking for Hassan, not his name, but, of course, according to their confessions, his name is Hassan. So, after 2 days, was finally exposed, and his pictures were all over social media. And they know him, and where he lives and so on. He went and turned himself in to the sheiks of his tribe so that they would protect him, but the sheiks of his tribe immediately informed the security authorities and handed him over to the security men themselves so that the law would take its course. The case is causing a stir, and you see this. What is the first case that happened in the same way? If you remember, I previously mentioned a case of a lender in Iraq. The lender had a friend, and her friend lured her in order to get rid of the debt, and they killed her. And her husband in the same way. This crime happened, but this one was so hideous that it included the killing of children. Why should I tell you? At the beginning of the video, it says that even some criminals have honor. You want to get rid of the inferiority papers, and you want to steal the money of these children. How do you kill a child of 3, 4, 5, or 6 years of age? And stab him in the chest with a knife and a spear? He tells you that the stabs were so strong that he would stab the child in the chest and the tip of the spear or knife would come out of his back from the force of the blow. Sarah was a pregnant woman, had her belly cut open, and the fetus came out. What is this brutality? Wasn't this Sarah her friend? And the worst thing is that Yasmin herself and these two have 6 children. They sent them to their uncle's house to commit the crime. They have children, and they know what a child means. By God, I do not advise you to watch the video. The children's father, but whoever has a heart for Rahaf should not listen to the children's father. How sad and heartbroken he is for his children and his wife. He is shocked. God is sufficient for me, and he is the best disposer of affairs against Yasin, against this man, and against the despicable Hassan. Of course, 2 of Yasmin's brothers were arrested, as was her father, because they are suspected of having a connection to the matter of knowing about committing the crime, and they even published their pictures. I don't know what they were. They are at the crime scene, participating in a method, meaning they may have hidden the stolen goods, or they knew about it, or they were covering up a crime. This is the end of our story. Conclusion and moral of the story. Dear friends, this tragic and shocking story reminds us of how greed and betrayal can destroy even the closest relationships and claim the lives of innocent people. Yasmin and her accomplices, in pursuit of their sinister goals, not only betrayed a long-standing friendship, but also committed a crime that pains the conscience of every human being. This story shows how the darkness within some individuals can exceed all limits, even harming innocent children. The moral of the story: we must always remain vigilant and aware in our relationships with others. Trusting others is beautiful, but that trust should not be blind. Always pay attention to the signs and behaviors of those around you, and if something seems suspicious, do not ignore it. Additionally, this story reminds us that greed and avarice can lead to destruction. Therefore, let us always practice contentment and honesty in our lives and avoid harming others, especially the innocent. I hope this tragic story serves as a lesson for all of us and inspires us to be better and kinder human beings in our own lives. Remember that every action we take, whether good or bad, has an impact on the lives of others. So let us make the right choices and build a better world. May God protect us all from evil and injustice, and grant us the strength to walk the path of goodness and humanity. Here's to brighter days filled with peace and tranquility.